It's working now. Okay, great. Hello, everyone. I'm Holly McLellan. I work for the Colville tribes in Eastern Washington. And today I'm going to talk to you about Northern Pike and Lake Roosevelt. And I just wanted to recognize some of the folks that work with me, Shay, Jasper, and Ash Cameron. Oh, but did I advance it? No. How come I won't advance? Does that go? Okay. Within North America, Northern Pike are native to the Midwest and large parts of Canada and Alaska. Numerous introductions over the past 50 years have increased distribution throughout the country. So legal and illegal introductions, stocking events of Northern Pike in the 1950s contributed to the establishment in the Blackfoot, Bitterroot, and Clark Fork systems, as you can see from this graph. And this is the Columbia River Basin, and that's the states of Washington, Idaho, Montana, you can see in there. By the 1970s, they had expanded their range into the Flathead system. And illegal stocking event also contributed to their expansion in the Coeur d'Alene system and downriver into the upper reaches of the Spokane River. By 2004, they had expanded into the Pend Oreille system in Idaho and Washington. 5 years later, they had expanded their reach into the BC, British Columbia reaches of the Columbia River. Below Keeley-Side Dam, you can see there up into Canada. And then by 2011, they were captured in Lake Roosevelt regularly. And by 2017, they expanded their range into the mid parts of Lake Roosevelt. And present day in 2022, they are still mostly concentrated in the mid and upper portions of Lake Roosevelt, but they are captured in low densities and throughout the entire portion of Lake Roosevelt, as you can see in yellow there. And Chief Joseph Dam is the upper most dam on the Columbia River that anadromous fish can reach. And this is just slightly 50 miles down from Grand Coulee Dam, which I didn't circle there, but which is the dam that creates Lake Roosevelt on the Columbia Basin. So we're very worried about Northern Pike reaching the anadromous area of the Columbia River. Historically, salmon did, of course, go all through this area, but there is not a fish ladder on Chief Joseph Dam, so they are currently blocked right there. Why are Northern Pike so bad? Northern Pike have disrupted ecosystems in Montana, Alaska, Idaho, Washington, Colorado, Utah, and California. They've caused the elimination of multiple native prairie minnows in Montana. They prey heavily on West Slope cutthroat trout and bull trout in the upper Flathead portions in Montana. They cause the elimination of native salmonids in the Sistina drainage in Alaska. And they are able to prey on other fishes up to 75% of their own body size. And one of the things that makes Northern Pike different from other non-native predatory fish like walleye and bass are that salmonids can grow big enough to escape predation from a walleye or a bass, but almost nothing can escape a large Northern Pike. And this picture on the right is a Northern Pike that we caught in a gill net. And even though it was captured in the gill net, it was still trying to eat this native burbot that was swimming by. As you can see, they have each other's mouths are connected. We released that burbot back alive. So Northern Pike and Lake Roosevelt, managers are concerned about red band trout, which is our native rainbow trout in Lake Roosevelt, and the Colville Reservation supports a genetically unique red band trout in the Sanpoil River. That's what we're very concerned about. We're worried about the expansion into the salmon ESA listed waters, like I discussed, and expansion into Banks Lake, which is a water body where water's pumped out of Lake Roosevelt into Banks Lake, and then it's distributed through the Columbia River Basin. And so another pathway for more invasions if the fish is allowed to distribute. So managers' goals are minimize impacts to native and important game fish species, suppress Northern Pike, and monitor the program and prevent the spread of Northern Pike into other water bodies. As you can see here, Northern Pike grow very fast. In 1 year, we're always catching multiple year classes. And the bottom fish is a mature female, and those are her egg skeins. We have many, many eggs. So we developed with our co-managers of Lake Roosevelt, where we manage the water body with the Spokane tribe and the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. So there's 3 co-managers in Lake Roosevelt. And we worked together to develop a northern pike suppression and monitoring plan, and we began implementing this in 2017. And it's a large plan, has many different aspects, and each one of the managers takes the lead on some of them. But together we all do gill netting, we all do electrofishing, and the Colville tribes leads up a reward program that offers $10 per northern pike head that anglers can turn in. And then we, together with other agencies, do an all hands on deck large gill net survey in May when the northern pike are spawning. And we will put out over 500 nets in a week. And it's a really great event because the Colville tribe also participates. And then other local agencies, BIA helps out, Grant PUD, Chelan PUD from the Mid-Columbia also help out. So it's a wonderful effort, and we appreciate all the support from our local agencies. But there's also always has to be a research component to a suppression program, and the Department of Fish and Wildlife monitors. They lead up the monitoring program that we do in the fall, and the Colville tribes is monitoring rufous woods. We do eDNA and DNA studies. There's microchemistry studies. We do reservoir operation and stranding studies. And a big part of what we're doing is public outreach. If you have to have the public on your side when you're out there trying to remove this species. A lot of misinformation can be spread very quickly nowadays. So we try and keep up on the correct information out there in the public sphere. And another thing we do, northern pike like to spawn on flowering rush, which was brought up by Blaine earlier. And that's one of the important aquatic invasive species we're really concerned about. And there is funding. A lot of people are trying to get rid of this one, which is great because it's just another way to leverage funding and work together with other folks to try and prevent the spread of flowering rush. And then it removes a plant species that northern pike like to spawn on. And another thing we're working on is rapid response plans for other parts of the Columbia River. So suppression and distribution. So here's a picture of Lake Roosevelt. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but here's Grand Coulee Dam. Or no, that's Chief Joseph Dam. Here's Rufus Woods, and here's Grand Coulee Dam. This is the uppermost point that salmon can reach right now. And here's Lake Roosevelt. It extends up to the Canadian border. And these dots, the red dots are over 6 northern pike caught per net, and it goes down to 0. 0 are these red X's. So these are everywhere we set nets. There are no pike captured. And this is set by all agencies. So this includes data from the Spokane tribe and Department of Fish and Wildlife for this past year. So as you can see, we still have contained them in the upper and middle portions of Lake Roosevelt, but we do capture a few moving down into lower portions of Lake Roosevelt, which is great, though, that we didn't capture any in Rufus Woods this year. And another great thing is the Spokane tribe went and set nets in this reservoir in the Spokane Arm, and it's called Little Falls Reservoir, and they also did not catch any pike in there. And the reservoir above that, the Department of Fish and Wildlife is working on, and they are removing northern pike in Long Lake. So there's a lot of effort going on by a lot of different agencies, and really great work. So potential good news. In our plan, we wrote that we wanted to have less than 2 northern pike per net between 2017 and 2019. As you can see here, when we started in 2017, we had over 3 northern pike per net. And over 3 years, we were able to reduce that to 1.5, which we met our goal. Then our second goal was to have less than 1 northern pike per net between 2020 and 2022. And we are again able to reach that in 2021, actually, and maintain that into 2022. Our next goal, which is quite aggressive, is to have 0 northern pike per gill net. And by 2025, this isn't really no pike left because we know we will never get rid of all of them. But on average, that would be less than 4 pike per every 10 nets set. So we hope to reach that by 2025. And we also do a large eDNA monitoring effort. The Colville tribes monitors 50 sites. And this includes sites in the Okanagan River where there are no pike yet. This is where the anadromous zone is, in Rufus Woods and in Lake Roosevelt, and of course into the area where we know pike are, and it's a good check. So we've been sampling these sites. We sample in the spring when pike move into shallow water to spawn, so they'd be sloughing more DNA in the shallow water. So we target that time period. And we also target in the fall, again, because in fall is low water, the water's moving slower, and so you'll have more DNA concentrated. So it's a good time to do DNA sampling. So we do those 2 events for northern pike. And then we also, on top of this, when you do eDNA monitoring, the way we do it, we send it off to the lab at Rocky Mountain Research Station in Missoula, Montana. And we're able to look at up to 6 different species through 1 filter. And so we are also doing the invasive mussels. So this is another way to leverage multiple funding sources to monitor for invasive species if you're thinking about developing this program. So we do these sites, and Department of Fish and Wildlife in Washington State also does almost the entire state, looking for both invasive mussels and northern pike, but they can't be everywhere all the time either. So our data is complementing theirs to help fill in data gaps. And I know Blaine Parker's also developing a program for the Lower Columbia, which is fantastic. And so his data will also be able to complement the states. And there are many other data gaps. And so if you want to get involved in invasive species monitoring, this is a great way, because there's already so many people doing it, but everyone can't be everywhere all at once.
Holly, 4 minutes left.
Sure. Okay. And so another thing, you have to be careful with eDNA, though. You do get false positives because there's DNA everywhere. So you have to be very careful. And we did get a positive in the Okanagan River, but because we have our rapid response plan, we were able to go back out and reassess this site, and all the other samples came back negative. So we do a reward program, offers $10 per northern pike, which is great to get the public involved. And to date, we've given out $35,000, but the trend of decreasing participation matches our decrease in catch per unit effort for our net, except for our COVID year when the world shut down and everybody went fishing. So this is sort of an anomaly, but for the most part, it follows the trend that we're seeing on the water. Lots of public outreach, super important. And it's been great that we developed these signs and they're posted at all the boat launches, and we provided these to other agencies, and you can change the label for wherever you are, but it's the same message be given to the public. And we'd love to see all these signs throughout the entire Columbia drainage. So, and the Department of Fish and Wildlife has these, and they'd be happy to help if you want to do that. DNA study, we also have a DNA database already developed. It has 34 populations. And there's many people who participate in the development of this. And so we have populations from Minnesota, Montana, Washington, Alaska, British Columbia. And one of the reasons we did this to detect where our northern pike were coming from, but then the Muckleshoot tribe captured 5 northern pike in Lake Washington. And because of this database, we were able to run those fish through that to see if they were being transported from Eastern Washington to Western Washington. And the answer was no. And then we compared the Lake Washington fish to the Alaska fish to thought maybe they're coming down that corridor. And they also did not match those fish. So the Lake Washington fish are still a mystery. And basically what it says is whatever population they came from is not in our database. So we hope maybe there's some other native populations we're missing in here that we could add to it. Would be great.
Just about a minute and a half left.
Gotcha. Okay, so microchemistry is another thing you can do to look at where your fish are coming from. Each water body has its own strontium signature. So we were able to find that pike were spawning in the Kettle River, and then they were migrating into Lake Roosevelt, where we are capturing them in Lake Roosevelt. But this helped us identify the Kettle River as a primary spawning spot for northern pike, and we focus our suppression there. Another thing, and then we're doing rapid response plans. So here is Chief Joe Dam, and this is the anadromous zone, and we've developed a rapid response plan. If northern pike reach here, the next area would be that Banks Lake. I discussed the Columbia Basin. So these are just great ways because everyone has to know who to contact, what data to collect, and how to rapidly respond to this invasion that will most likely occur. And so with that, many thanks to our numerous partners, and I can take questions now or later.